You got the bisexual space lighting.
I do have the bisexual space lighting.
I think I have the lesbian space background here. Like the orange. That's what I'm doing.
That's like how the microphone kind of removes itself every once in a while. There, yeah. It's just, there we are.
Hi, friends.
Howdy, y'all.
Hi.
And welcome to Muppet Sex and Trauma. I'm Sara Ezzat. I make the Fat Culture Critic videos on YouTube.
I'm Josh Gosdin, and for the last regular time, I'm a big old nerd.
And we have, as we have established, we have the space gender person.
I am the space gender person. The queen of all space and gender at the same time. I will proclaim myself.
And so the Time Lord is the Gender Lord.
Yes, I am the Gender Lord.
It's
but
Jessie
ironically,
when
I regenerate, I don't change gender. I just change age. Yeah, that's great.
What would regender be? Is that like
regenerate?
Regenerate? Regenderize?
Yeah.
Like tenderizing meat?
I'm even more gender.
Yeah. I acquire a new gender every time I regenerate.
Oh, it's like Pokemon. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Probably involves a very spinny skirt.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
So, yes, Jessie is with us, and Josh is the nerd as always, and we are here to talk about the very last regular episode of Farscape.
No!
I can't believe we're here. You and me specifically, Sarah. I can't believe we're here.
We made it. We did the thing. Well, we've almost completed the thing.
It will also like there's always an asterisk whenever we say it's the end.
Yeah, we do. We'll do a wrap up, and we'll do the final. We're gonna do, and we've set the date for our live watch. We will be doing it on the 1st of November. Everyone is welcome. We'll be all Jessie. If you want to join us, all of our former guests will be welcome in the chat,
sure.
or in the Zoom, and then and anybody at all is welcome in the chat, and we'll all watch together.
Awesome.
Wars.
Sounds like fun. Yeah, if I'm available, I'll show up. It depends on if I'll be free, but I don't know what my schedule's going to be.
So it'll just be whoever shows up, whoever is available. Yeah. So bad timing.
Okay.
Bad Timing was written by David Kemper and directed by Andrew Prouse. Well, it seems they just don't build nukes like they used to, because all the important Scarens survived John's explosive gardening efforts. And now Stalik is pissed, and also he knows Earth grows the plant he needs, and so he dispatches a big old ship to travel through the wormhole and take Earth. John learns of these plans from Braca as he's dropping off Scorpy. Scorpy tries to offer John an alliance, a pact to save Earth, but John is beyond done with his shit. No deal. John yeets Scorpy out the airlock along with Sokozu, who is sticking by her man. But don't worry, they're fine, and after Braca collects them, the Scorpicule can get busy with their plotting and, a little light cuckoldry. But what is John going to do about the Scarens and the wormhole? Well, after some less than helpful suggestions from his friends, and the gentle confidence of his radiant Aeryn son, John has an idea. Pop the bubble. Specifically, the bubble that forms as a wormhole opens. That should collapse it for good. He'll lose his path to his home, but he'll save it from the Scarens. But here's the thing. He can't do it. I mean, he can do the math, but human hand-eye coordination just won't get the job done. In fact, there's only one being who could do it. Pilot. And he won't risk Moya. John decides he'll try anyway, and Aeryn insists she'll join him. No matter the risks, no matter the outcome, she's staying with him. And after a great deal of hesitation, Pilot decides he's willing to try. If they transfer him into one of Moya's pods, he might be able to do it. It will be painful, it will be risky, but he'll try. John, Pilot, and Aeryn travel through the wormhole and make a brief stop at Serenity Base. John needs one last phone call home. One last heart-to-heart with his dad. But make it quick, because the Scarens are on their way. And for once, their plan comes together, and it all works. The wormhole bubble pops, the Scarens get smushed in the wormhole, and the crew gets back safely. Sometime later, Moya is resting in the seas of the planet Kajaga. The crew are having some downtime as Pilot rests and rebonds with Moya. John and Aeryn find a rowboat to have a little privacy for a chat. Aeryn announces that she's had her baby released from stasis, and it's definitely his. John is ecstatic. They're having a baby! And with that decided, he's got a question for her. And a ring. Dum-dum-da-dum, dum-dum-da-dum. It's happy ending time, folks. Oh, well, it would be, but this is Farscape. And so here comes a new alien thing with a fancy new weapon, and in a heartbeat, John and Aeryn are blasted into bits. But nil desperandum. This is science fiction, and their story will continue. Somehow.
Somehow, some way.
So, thoughts? Initial
Jessie?
thoughts?
Oh, I mean, well, first thing I should say, and I sent this to Sara. I jumped in this episode. I have not watched Farscape in a little while. Like, I've watched it here and there. I think the last episode I watched was the one I was on with you all. And I had no context for what in the world was happening here. Like, I had vague recollections of, like, I think they met with the Scarens or whatever. But I'm like, what is happening? What's the deal right now? But I will say, just overall thoughts on the episode, like, even removed from, like, me not remembering all the nitty gritty context of what's happening in the show right now, it is a really strong finale in a lot of ways, especially that moment without getting, I think we're just talking generalities, right? At the beginning here, right? But like, I just think like the moment with his dad and there's just a sense of finality in this episode that feels really, really good and sweet. And then you get to that ending, which is just like, weirdly frustrating. Like, it's fine, it's worked out now, and we'll talk about it later, but it's such like a weirdly frustrating ending to like a good finale to the episode that weirdly kind of came back around and seemed like to be the right thing to have done, considering. But yeah, it's I think it's a really good finale with like a weird ending and a weird choice for an ending that since I got to watch it after the show had ended and Peacekeeper Wars were out, like I had already knew the Peacekeeper Wars was coming when I watched this for the first time. I was like, okay, fine, I'll just watch that and keep going. But I have to imagine on the first viewing was so angering. So that's the quick thoughts.
We talked a little bit, Sara and I talked a little bit during our rewatch, and I was reminded of Star Trek Enterprise, of specifically of the plight behind the scenes that they were dangling on the knife's edge of cancellation at the end of season 3. And in a final, we dare you to cancel us, they threw in alien Nazis in the final 30 seconds of that last episode of season 3 as a cliffhanger. And that's what this felt like to me, was a final, like, we dare you to cancel us. And
they did. Unlike
UPN, Sci-Fi actually followed through and canceled. But like everything that I have come to really enjoy about the show, and that I have come to experience with this show, that's also kind of like the perfect ending. It's not too dissimilar from the series finale of Angel. Like the fight is never done, the crises are never over, we're always moving forward, kind of a thing. And so to end on such a cliffhanger, even though I know it was canceled and it wasn't supposed to be like the end, feels weirdly appropriate for the show. I mean, our two main characters got blasted to bits, and I want to know what happens next. But like, I'm also satisfied if we didn't get anything else after this, like within the context of the show, it works.
Josh saying we keep going forward. I got Star Trekking stuck in my head because we can't find reverse.
We can't find rivers. Star Trekking
across the universe. That really this silly brain doing silly things. I love this episode. If folks, if you want to watch Josh and I weep,
stare agape,
you can join our Patreon to see, because I've never been able to watch the phone call with the dad without crying.
My God, that was such a good scene.
It was a very good scene.
And the proposal is very like stimmy moment. because it's just so cute.
I was so happy.
Yeah, and there's a lot to love here.
I think that's also part of why I'm okay with if there wasn't anything else, because it was such a damn good episode.
I mean, honestly, that's the kind of thing where I'm like, I think it works just so well. If this just had been the end, is just we don't get anything more after this, I would have been satisfied. And I do think there is something to be said about like the play kind of worked out in the creator's favor, because by having that cliffhanger ending, you kind of created the impetus in the fandom to be like, oh, we want more, and eventually leads to the Peacekeeper Wars, which I also, without spoiling for Josh, I also think is rather good where it eventually ends up. So I do think like the play worked on their part in a roundabout way, but I do really like this episode. It's just making you feel like, if I don't get anything more with these characters, it works very well. I think the only thing with the ending that like I think again, it goes into like it works and it doesn't for what they were trying to do, but it's just so heart-wrenching. Like Dargo's scream at the end is just so gutting. Like I've seen like this kind of thing happen. Like, oh, they got killed, they'll be back next. Like, there's like they'll be back next season. But it's just like Dargo's scream and cry is like so visceral. You're like, oh, it hurts so bad. And then I'm assuming fans at the time be like, and you're not getting any more. You have to be like, oh God, that hurts so much. You know what I mean? And I think that's like the thing in that ending that's like, it's such a weird dichotomy in like, okay, some weird sci-fi nonsense happened that they're going to like, they're clearly going to be fine next. If it got renewed, they would have been fine in like 5 minutes into the next season premiere.
Yeah.
But like, it's just such a visceral ending. And then to say, nope, we're done. It's just it's such a wild thing.
Well, given it's Farscape, there would have been some cost because they do this.
Of course,
every season they do we have the big climax, then we have the emotional climax. Everything looks hunky dory, and then disaster.
Yes, of course,
of some kind or another, and then which was the writers always writing themselves off the cliff and then having to figure out how to get themselves back.
Which is a fun way to write.
Yeah, and they did always, the thing is that they always made everything like have a real cost, even this like turning into jujubes.
Yes, which is why I like Farscape. It does actually have ramifications for everything, which I do really enjoy. But yeah, it's just I just can't get over Dargo's like visceral scream.
Yeah,
you were talking about we were talking before. And I mentioned the Time Lords, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of like when 9 regenerated into 10 or when 11 into 12, and the reactions that we got from like Rose Tyler and from Clara. Like Dargo's scream was very much the companion's tragedy to losing the Doctor or losing the Doctor they knew or whatever.
Yeah.
I think the other thing with the ending too that it irks me a little bit. And again, I kind of have to like put it in the qualifier of like at the time, but I think I still think is that it is kind of contrived. Like there's no real reason that like John and like for all the other endings, for the most part, there is a sense of, okay, their choices led them to this moment of there's going to be consequences. But here it's just like they're out on a boat for no reason and they get killed because of that. And it's just like it's just so contrived to have this like really gut-wrenching ending. And I think that kind of also adds this feeling of like, oh, you can see the hand of the author, I think is really the thing of like, oh, we're trying to like give this guttural moment so that we can try and get renewed. Like that sort of like, yeah, we dare you to try and cancel us sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a bit of raindrops versus rainstorm effect of, we just have seen so many writers do these contrived, emotionally manipulative things that it makes, it's just like, it's fine in this one instance, but when it feels like, especially now, it feels like we've had a lot of emotional manipulation, and that sort of like as much, good faith as I have for these writers. And I'll go with it because I love this scene. It's a little harder to turn off the critic brain
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. It's easier for me, I think, because of the Doylist perspective of I get why the author, spiked the ball there in the final season or the final scene. I mean, and sci-fi respect for that. But yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. It feels like you're watching something somebody wrote instead of watching an experience of other people that are having.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between immersion and, I guess, observation.
The other thing that I think might be a little bit contrived or a little bit I think maybe it was a matter of the effects team overdoing the bomb in the last episode. But they did give us kind of the impression that everything was obliterated, and then we come back and the tables and chairs are just a little bit knocked over, and Stalik is still there, and all the people are still, the maybe I don't know, maybe dinosaurs are nuclear resistant, but
not according to the asteroid that hit us a few million years ago.
It is a little like, yeah, okay. So he blew up the entire planet to kill the plants, but you all survived, and now you're just going to get revenge.
Yeah, dust yourself off and keep going.
And I am always kind of forgiving of contrivance to start conflict more than to solve it.
Yes,
that's sort of the rule I go with. If you're using contrivance to get people out of trouble, then that's bad writing. But sometimes you gotta stick your hand in to make a story happen. But yeah, that was the other thing about the episode that's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
And maybe communication on how big the boom was supposed to be in the last episode.
Because the effects team definitely had an idea of how big the boom was supposed to be. Like we got a zoomed out shot of the planet and blue thermonuclear fire erupting from craters and volcanoes. And it's like, all right, that seems
fire. Yeah.
That seems like an event.
Yeah. I haven't seen that episode in a while, so I do not remember that at all. Again, helps to be like, I have no idea what's happening at the top of this episode. What's going on? Sure.
I wanted to give you a visual for your benefit.
One of the less helpful previously ons.
Yeah, because the previously on was literally like, here's everything that's happened in all of Farscape. And I'm like, that doesn't help me. No, bad.
It was the latest in a long line of, they're Buffy fans.
Mm-hmm.
This is very much the same shtick they pulled at the end of season 5 of Buffy.
Yeah. It was a couple of frames from each of the episodes in the writer's favorite order.
Yeah.
And again, it was very affecting. Like as a new fan, I was like, oh shit, gear up, here we go.
Yep, it's excellent editing, but it's not particularly helpful if you haven't watched the other episodes.
To be fair, I don't see why they would ever think someone would just hop right in on the series finale of the show. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, yeah, this is where you're the
outlier nobody planned for.
Yeah, I mean, like to be fair, it's like that's not how it should be watched in any way, shape, or form. You know, if you're just showing up for this episode being like, what happened? I think they'd be like, I'm okay with losing you. So I think it's totally fine. I think it was perfectly great for what it was doing. It's just me who has the very specific problem.
Yes, I should have given you
it's a me problem.
I should have given you the cheat sheet, although I hadn't actually updated it in a couple.
It's more fun this way. I appreciate it. Gives me a unique perspective. So I appreciate that.
What should we dig into? Well, we leave the Scorpicule behind. Josh named them the Scorpicule.
That's a fun name. I enjoy that. Enjoy that.
And we definitely they definitely put Braca in the cuck chair.
He's just watching.
Yeah, just like, you're gonna lick her finger there. All right, should I go, or do you want me to watch? What's?
Please let me stay.
Yeah. I would like to stay. I'll be quiet in the corner, please. Oh. I also love John strapping the bomb to Scorpion, just shoving him out,
Yeah.
That was very fun.
Yeah, it is. It's very John. It is very, we are done with your shit.
Mm-hmm.
But the opening to get us there is a bit, we have a bit of timey-wimey soap opera-y framing.
They did a really
sitcom.
interesting choice of, we're going to write the introduction scene into the middle of the introduction scene.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely gave the sense of like one of the rare instances where they had too much material to work with in an episode.
I really liked John wrestling with like figuring out how to get rid of the like destroy the wormhole, and like realizing like he like the only thing he's got is to destroy it. And like that willingness to sacrifice that, I thought was a really cool I thought that was a really cool way to sort of end the show, like knowing that they might like end this way. I think that was just like a nice like sacrifice on John's part to be like, I have wanted to get back home for so long, right from like the opening intro of the original season, and now it's like, no, home is out here. I'm choosing to be out here rather than go back home. To save it, sure, but like still like making that definitive choice. Like I'm sure you could have done it the other way. I mean, you couldn't have brought Pilot with you, but I'm sure there could have been a way to like try and close it from the other side and stay with Earth, but he wanted to stay here. So yeah, I thought that was very affecting.
Yeah, I love the sort of, we've had the long-term story of John and home, the sort of Dorothy Gale of it all. Of him, first he's desperate to get home, and then he has a few times he thought he got home, and then he, at the end of the third season, we have that incredible Dog with Two Bones episode where he tries to imagine mixing his worlds, and eventually chooses Aeryn, and the coin flip. And then they actually get home, and he's not comfortable at home, and he chooses to leave, because he also like the whole that they actually went there and took him home, but it wasn't home anymore. It had changed, and he had changed, and then this puts the coda on it to not just has he's chosen Aeryn, he's chosen the uncharted territories, and now he has to choose to actually close the door.
Yeah. It's a beautiful kind of long arcing hourglass plot to go, like you were saying, Sara, to go from desiring to get home to choosing not to. That is also one of the reasons why this was kind of a perfect episode for them to get canceled on. To have that conclusion to that extremely meaningful character arc for him.
Yeah.
And that he's actually happy.
Like very, very happy, especially with getting to marry Aeryn, who accepts him too at the end too, is like, her John. So
yeah, those two are just adorable.
I also really love Pilot too. You know what I mean? Like Pilot not being choosing to help John, and like having to have that crisis of like willing to risk his and Moya's life for John. Like they both could have easily died for this, and like really wrestling with that. And again, like Pilot's never been like the most self-interested character of the crew, but certainly is one who is prioritizing Moya over really anything else the whole series. And so to have this moment of like, no, I'll risk us both for to do this for John, I thought was a really sweet sort of culmination of his arc as well. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Of like putting something above Moya and that symbiosis
and for Rigel to be the one to ask him to do it.
Yeah, it was a good evolution for Rigel. It's like, he's not going to go so far as to say I would risk myself, but I care about these people, so I'll push someone else to do it. Very Rigel.
You got any thoughts on Rigel, Josh?
Rigel always has my appreciation. I've pointed out many times. I love the instances where we get to see the Dominar in action, but also like just the him actually giving a damn about John, to some degree about Earth. Like too, he was like that was part of his argument to Pilot, is saving a planet. And like his actual, he can be compassionate not only when he wants to, but he can be compassionate because he's allowed to, because he's not in a role that requires turning off his empathy and compassion. He's part of a family.
Yeah.
He's going to be the rude uncle of the family, but he is part of the family.
He's part of the family. Yeah. Everybody got something to do. Everybody had a good landing pad for their character arc in this episode.
Yeah. Except for maybe Stark. I mean, he had a little bit to do, but Stark doesn't have a ton like of concluding arc here. But
for a given value of Stark.
He's a plot device at this point.
Fair. I always liked Stark quite a bit. He was always a fun character for me.
I came around on Stark. Stark grated on me at first.
I always enjoyed Stark. I did also like Chiana's like thing here with, I forgot that, she was blind at the end of the show. And I like that it's like this, like she is blind. And that's not reversed in this episode. I even forget if that's reversed in Peacekeeper Wars or not. It might not be. I honestly don't remember. But I like that it's not reversed here, and there's like an acceptance of that. Because it's like the easy like cure a disability thing. It's like no. It's like she's dealing with, like, she's going to have to like live with that, and I think that that's a good thing to show of like, we're not just going to cure this disability. And there are people who like, are going to help her work through that and love her. And, she's still just as part of the family and everything with that too. So I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course, Captain Dargo and Chiago in general being a thing.
I love my big tentacle zaddy.
I also I completely forgot what's her face.
Granny?
Old woman. Yeah, Granny. Whatever. I completely forgot her. When she shows up, I'm like, oh yeah, she was a character.
She was a plot device mostly.
She was a plot device.
I remember
her. She's not bad here, and I don't remember any specifics, but I remember her annoying me a hell of a lot when I was watching the show. Yeah, I remember not liking her. She's fine here, but I was like, oh yeah, I completely forgot you were a thing. I like
hardly an episode.
Yeah,
hardly an episode has gone by where I haven't been like, what the fuck is this character doing?
Yeah. She's okay here. She doesn't really do much here, but I remember being like, oh yeah, I hated you.
She had one good episode.
I completely erased you.
And it was the previous one.
No, it was the start of the. Granny. But I mean, mostly her job has been to throw drugs at people.
Yeah.
Usually without their consent. At least this time she was trying to get people's consent. Except for Stark. But yes, I enjoy the scene where John is, trying to think of a solution and everybody has their suggestions.
And hers is drugs.
And Dargo is being the most wonderful, supportive, best friend. And Chiana thinks he needs sex and is volunteering her boyfriend.
Sure. Not an unreasonable proposition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rigel probably offered food. And she offered drugs.
And I noted
this is the gamut: sex, food, drugs. You just need rock and roll in there. Yeah.
The bar for Naranti is on the floor because I clocked it. And I was like, hey, she asked before she dosed him this time. That's so great.
That's a good concluding character arc right there. That's what you want in a series finale. She learned to not non-consensually give people drugs. Yeah.
Except for Stark.
Except for Stark.
Can we really fault one plot device interacting with another like that?
Yeah, he needed someone to put him out of his spiral there at the end. But that does give us the most delightful Aeryn supporting John scene, most of which was done entirely without lines. I just like her just sitting there.
Yeah.
It's always really great when you get the moments like that.
Yeah.
I was so happy. It was so good. I was very happy.
Yes.
I will also say, speaking of which, the speech with the dad, with John's dad, is so good. That moment where he says it's something like they say that you always want your kids to go further than you, and by that metric, I'm the greatest dad in the universe or whatever. That was a really powerful moment that just hits you.
Yeah. Okay, let's dive into the daddy issues.
Yeah.
That scene makes me weep.
It's so good,
man.
It's so good because it like condenses so much into it, because it's like, you see his dad like initially try to like be like, all right, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? Like he tries to come up with different ideas of like what else they could do. And John's like, and John's like, is this how you want to spend our last, few minutes together? Like we're in seconds or whatever. Mm-hmm. And realizing like, okay, I have to make the switch. I just have to have this moment with my son. I think it's so good. It's such a good, like beats with the characters and turns. So.
Well, I think like to get a bit more into it, daddy issues are so overused in fiction. Our friend Lonnie Rich talks about how it's overused in fiction because it's one of the only ways that men are allowed to have vulnerability. So it's why like every man in the MCU has his main vulnerability is daddy issues. Everywhere, the thing that they will give men is parental issues, 90% of the time. But this is the example, I think John and his dad is one of the examples of really doing it right, because it's not just it's not his only vulnerability. John is like a walking nerve with so much vulnerability. Like Ben Browder and his single tear scenes, just so much vulnerability. But we have like from the beginning, his issues with his dad have been. It's not it doesn't make him a man child. It's not, his daddy issues aren't like, well, my daddy doesn't love me. It was. Apologize to anyone who's from, but like that is what so many stories give us is, wow, my daddy didn't love me. But with John, it's like we knew from the beginning that there was love there. We knew there was respect there. He opens in the premiere saying, it's not you. I love you. It's being son of you. Like his dad was his hero. And it was the whole thing about his dad saying you have to find your own way to be a hero. And then, throughout we've had this, his dad being his idol thing. And the way that, Jack the alien took on his dad's face because he was, and then when he finally got home, his dad wasn't the idol that he had dreamed him to be, and they had the big falling out because of September 11th, and his dad was betraying everything that that John believed him. And then he comes through and he comes back to himself, and in this we see he's followed through on being the person that John knows him to be. And then we have this incredible coda on their whole thing, and just this. I was thinking, it makes me think about like the vision of masculinity that Crichton and gives us, and that this relationship with his dad encapsulates, and the representation here of, you know, the pride in your son and the pride and accomplishment. It's such a wholesome thing, while still like being a very old-fashioned sort of guy, and the I'm gonna try and fix everything and thing. And it's just, yeah, it's an incredibly well-written, beautifully executed father-son dynamic, and a way to give us real vulnerability in the daddy issues, without without doing anything the toxically masculine or building a man child. Yeah, I don't know. That's just like
envisioning
Josh.
A man child being built out of Legos.
And it's also just like you were just talking about too. It is an even more like emotionally just a vulnerable moment in a very uplifting kind of way, which we don't even usually even get from like the daddy issues type of stuff that we usually see. Like you'll get, I think of like stuff like Lost, like the main character in Lost, without spoiling too much, he has like daddy issues with his dad. And like they do kind of have a reconciliation in that show of a kind, but it even just comes down to like, I accept you, son. Like it's just like that, and that's meant to be like, yeah, I got there, he accepts me. But this moment is like there is a true expression of value to each other and like how much we care about each other, and it's like condensed in such a short time, and it's melancholic and bittersweet because of the situation, but like their relationship is so beautiful in that moment. That I just really like, because you so rarely get that just open vulnerability and open expression of love and caring in sort of an unambiguous and very meaningful way with characters like this, which again I like seeing, because yeah, like I get it, daddy issues and depictions of masculinity they can get very tropey very easily, especially just considering the ways we allow men to have vulnerability, either with their dads or even sometimes with their significant others. And even that's in a more like, you are the vessel of my feelings sort of way. But when it does click and you do get to see men actually get to express their feelings for each other in a really vulnerable way. I think a very similar one, this was a more healthy relationship, and a similar one was the new Superman movie between Clark and his dad, was like, this is just a very earnest, kind moment, and it made me cry. That's the scene in this movie that just brought me to tears. And it's just like, oh, you don't get to see this being this healthy very often. And so I loved this scene specifically for that, and that like, oh, here's a healthy expression of this, and it's made all the more meaningful by the journey, but just a healthy expression of this moment is really wonderful.
That'd be an interesting exercise to try to compile the examples in media of daddy issues resolved in a healthy, wholesome way.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it probably would not be very many. You know what I mean? And it'd have to be like an earnestly healthy way, not in a "I accept you, son. We worked through our dad issues. Know that I love you now." It has to actually be vulnerable.
And the dad has to be willing to keep growing. It's such an easy trap to fall into, and all of us, stumble across this trap in various ways. I've seen it in my career when I look at when I look up the organizational chart at senior leadership, and they know exactly what to do and how to do it, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, yeah, but maybe that was true in 1985, but have you rechecked your figures since then, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And the same is true in familial relationships, interpersonal relationships. We're not the same people,
Yeah.
Me and my family members, we are all different versions of ourselves than the ones that are frozen in pictures around living rooms. And especially the older generations in those relationships need to be willing to do what Jack did in this episode, which is grow and learn and change.
And there's something Star Trek-y in here in those moments too, in the sense that, like, you know, his dad equates like there's an equivocation between what Jack's his dad, right? I keep forgetting names.
Yeah.
Jack is going through, and he relates it to, like, oh, humanity is growing up too. Like, we're, you know, I think he says something like, we're getting better. We're like coming together, kind of like how you wanted. And it like speaks to, like, dad is growing and also humanity is growing, kind of relating these things. And like John is going to leave both of those things behind. But like there's a sense of like they're going to grow without him because of him and because of their relationship with, like, John's relationship with all of humanity and John's relationship with his dad. There's like they're going to continue on their own path of growth even without him, instead of it being like well, I'm the dad, I've settled in my ways. Like, no, the dad seems just as excited to still go out into space now than he would have been at John's age, I'm sure. And so it's that sort of like feeling of like, oh, we're growing up, we're changing. And that's a very Star Trek-y and Gene Roddenberry and kind of thing of like, when we go to the stars, we'll be mature when we do it. Sadly, in Ethos, I don't really see in our near future as much anymore anyway, sadly. But it is a very Gene Roddenberry and like the space will unify humanity sort of thing that I kind of like there.
I always am reminded that Star Trek is technically post-apocalyptic.
It is. Yes.
So,
I think it does speak to this moment as in a way as well, because it's so rooted in the moment it was made. Because it's post 9/11. Especially like it's been ages since you saw the episode, but when they had that conversation, but I know we dug into that a lot, and the way that they got into the way that you know, after 9/11 the world and America and the world closed in.
Yep.
And we're you know, that was when they created ICE, you know, so
we are reaping what we have sown currently.
Yes.
And but this did, you know, this spoke to John did give that speech then about, you know, how the hope for humanity is coming together, and the strength, and you know, the need for healing and coming together, and you know, that promise. And then this is the coda on that, where we see that they are coming together. People can do better. And as much as we are reaping the rewards now, there was a time in between then and now where people tried for better.
And people are still trying for better, but
people are still trying.
There was more people got on board for the trying for better, and then and then we lost some folks, and like it's one of those, you know, the arc of history takes an awful lot of bending, apparently, but we can do it.
Yes.
Rosie the Riveter, like, we can do it.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. This is like a post 9/11 thing, in that desire, because like I feel like there's a current desire for that now, right? Like there is that desire that people are having. Like, you look, like I made mention of Superman. I feel like why that was so powerful for people was the moment it was speaking to. It was being like, this is a very hopeful film of like not running away from some of the harder issues, but giving like a sense of like there's a hopeful way through this if we stay true to like our core humanity, that absolutely. Superman is kind of representing, and that's a piece of fiction that's saying that, and I think a lot of people reacted very strongly to that, and I think that's a very similar thing being expressed here in Farscape, in the like, all right, 9/11 was this galvanizing moment for something very dark. The war in Afghanistan, the Iraq war, and obviously all the stuff we're seeing now, the Islamophobia and many other things that came out of that moment, and people desiring to be like, we can do better. We can grow and like aiming for that. Hell, even Star Trek itself kind of is that, in the sense of like the original series was very much coming out of the World War II kind of era, the Cold War era. Gene Roddenberry was a World War II veteran, even though arguably if he fought, you can believe or not some of his stories, but it was coming out of that era of like, all right, let's have this hope for America. So I think like, yeah, you can, it is something like that people reach for in the dark times. And I like that. I like that. And I like that from shows that are like weird and strange like this. Like that hope comes from like weirdos like John and the Moya crew, rather than like the systems that are sort of calcifying their own power.
That kind of gives me a moment to plug one of my all-time favorite films, which is The Best Years of Our Lives, which is a film that was made in 1946.
Oh, I think I've seen this one. Yeah.
About a veteran.
Is this the one of veterans coming back? And
yeah.
Yes.
It includes punching a Nazi.
Yes, it's been a long time since I watched that in film school, so it's been well over a decade since
That's when I was introduced to it. I watched it on one of our film nights.
I watched it on my grandfather's lap when I was a child.
I should go back and rewatch it. But yeah, it's been a long time. I have vague recollections of it. So
yes, it's an excellent one. Everyone should go find. It was, before the Hays Code had and the House on the Hays Code was enforced, but the House on Un-American Activities hadn't bitten yet, and they did hate. They did hate this film.
Oh, good. Anything that they hate, I tend to love. So we're good. Yeah,
but it was a film that was made with a lot of realism at this moment of people coming back from the war and trying to decide what now. What do we do now? And it's very realism, very beautiful. Some of the best disability representation probably ever made in Hollywood, with a war amputee playing a war amputee. He won 2 Oscars for it. The only person to ever win 2 Oscars. But yeah, it's just... Oh yeah,
I do remember that. Yeah.
It is a fantastic film and has a Nazi punching scene.
As every movie should. As every movie ever. I think let's enact our own Hays Code, but the only rule is every movie must have a Nazi be punched.
Now, I see here, you didn't include the Nazi being punched in the script, and we're going to have that before we can
just every, like, you can put in the end credits. It's fine. It's okay.
A Nazi with an American flag pin, he's an American. Yeah, it's a
It doesn't matter. It has to be a Nazi. It can be an American Nazi, just some form of fascist. Punch a fascist. So that's the rule.
Yes, preferably dressed as a frog.
Yes,
that one doesn't have a dress as a frog, but it's just it's just talking about the sort of like the media that gives us a moment to pause and decide where do we want to go from here. And thinking about making different choices. One of the reasons why I struggle with Enterprise as in terms of Star Trek is because it takes me back to the dark times of that, which was, and it didn't choose. But one of the reasons why I love Discovery is because they confront that head on.
Yeah. No, there's 2. If you're getting me talking about Star Trek, so I'll keep it very simple. But yeah, Enterprise is very neoconservative, right? It is a Bush era reaction. It's a reactionary politic in that show. You could very much tell Brandon Braga, who is the showrunner for most of it, not all of it, wanted to write for 24 with his torture scenes and everything. He did go on to write for 24. And then Manny Coto, who took over the show in season 4, went on to write for Fox News. So like you can tell the conservative edge in that show, and like it plays at progressivism, but it is sort of like this reactionary Bush era politic. Whereas like Discovery, for all of its faults, is kind of having that like existential crisis of liberalism that was in the post-Trump era. Like that season 1 is very much dealing with the like, oh, fascism can come from within our system. We had no idea that was a possibility. How do we like reconcile with that and like the trauma of that? And then it kind of went into its later seasons of like, how do we rekindle that, and you can, I mean, there are arguments about like it's sort of love of the Federation, sort of uncritical love of the Federation in later seasons that I reconcile a little bit with. It's very Biden era Star Trek. I think
it's
probably
messy
the
as fuck.
Yes. But I do appreciate that it is like it's reaching for that hope.
Yeah.
In that way. Whereas Enterprise has this very, again, reactionary, like humanity is kind of like, and it's like unevolved humanity is like, and I'll bring it back to Farscape here. It's unevolved humanity in Enterprise is like, oh, they're just himbo dude bros from like 2000s, just in space now. You know what I mean? That's kind of their vibe. Whereas John is actually a guy who is of the time, but he is trying to like grow and better and deal with his issues in a way that the Enterprise crew never really did, because it had to do this whole like we are the Star Trek characters, and like we're less evolved, but we'll get it right in the end. There's a capital R rightness behind our actions. And never really like reconciling with these people in the process of growing that like John really kind of embodies and gets to the end here of like, John is a very imperfect guy, but he is someone who does grow and want to change and wants to, and is willing to sacrifice things to help others. And yeah, I think it's a very beautiful thing with John. So.
Well, I wasn't going to bring up Enterprise, but since you did, Sara.
Farscape was written by frustrated Star Trek writers, so
as many a good show is, you know.
Absolutely, yeah, love Battlestar Galactica. And with full deference to the fact that Jessie, you're a professional Trekkie, I am a very knowledgeable amateur Trekkie. I will cross
amateur like the Olympic are run by the amateurs.
Yeah, I had somebody challenge me on a message board one time, and I tore them to ribbons. But I actually see Enterprise season 3 specifically from a different lens. Of one of the major points of that season was that the crew of the Enterprise, in their reactionary quest, I guess, through the Expanse, were doing it wrong. And specifically Archer was doing it wrong. And a lot of the characters spent most of the season telling him, we shouldn't be doing it like this. We shouldn't be coming in here. We shouldn't be trying to pick a fight. We definitely shouldn't be torturing people. Stop it now. And it leads to the biggest disaster of the show, where the ship almost gets destroyed. And only once he actually embraces, reaching out and creating, seeking understanding rather than coming in with a jackbooted foot, does the plot of the season turn around, and does it actually start to arc towards ultimately gets it resolved? And I think part of the reason why, and Sara and I had this conversation about Man of Steel. I like the new Superman movie a lot. I think it was very well made, very good. I have personal, very childish and petty, I guess, feelings about the way that Henry Cavill was treated.
No, he was treated terribly. I agree with you.
Transition.
On that. Yeah.
And I spent the better part of the last decade teetering on the edge of like, oh my God, they've got so much good potential here if Warner Brothers would just get out of their own way. But I think Enterprise season 3 and Man of Steel both hold up uncomfortable mirrors to contemporary America, and that's one of the reasons why they weren't as well received. Because it isn't just here's what we could be doing; it's here's what we're doing right now. And the royal we, neither of the three of us, to my knowledge, have engaged in counterterrorism, espionage, or torture, or anything like that. But
that's you.
To my knowledge, plausible deniability, Jessie. But an uncomfortable mirror towards this is where we are currently, post 9/11 America, post 9/11 United States. This is where we are currently, and that's one of the reasons why it was so poorly received. I was in a Discord, watching a very uncomfortable discussion of post 9/11 Star Trek unfold, and one of the points that was being made was, I don't see why we had to like go there. Like that's so triggering to like current vets and all that kind of stuff, and like. potentially, and my sympathies if so. But what would you have rather the original series not address the civil rights movement?
Mm-hmm.
Would you have rather TNG not try to address Reaganomics?
I mean, I just want to say, like, I agree. This is going to get teeter into a whole Star Trek discussion away from Farscape, so I don't want to go too far down it. But
what is a podcast?
Sara started it.
I've said it before. Yeah. What is a podcast but a series of digressions?
Digressions, yes.
You brought two of the biggest Trekkies in your circle together.
Yes,
I knew what I was doing.
Well, I mean, my feeling on Star Trek Enterprise is like, I agree with you. That's the arc that I see there. And I think that that is there to a degree. However, I don't think it's self-aware of it enough to really get it. And it's the same thing with Man of Steel. Like there is a thing where you can look at them and be like, okay, this is what this reflects. But I don't necessarily know if the show is both Enterprise or Man of Steel is like self-aware of what it's doing. It is such a great reflection of the moment, but it is not necessarily, I don't think it's being very coherent in that arc. And as a result, it like ends up having some aggressive messages. Like, for example, I think like this isn't the Expanse season, but it is an Enterprise where there's an episode where they go back to Earth and Phlox gets like attacked by some racists. And there's no real confronting the like, it's kind of like put on Phlox to a degree of like, you shouldn't have been here. It's kind of on you to have been more aware of it. I'm trying to remember. There was something about it. There was something weird about it that I'm trying to remember.
It's Home is the episode.
Yes.
And it's a conversation between Hoshi and Phlox after they deal with the drunk racists. And Phlox actually puts it on himself. He says, I'm trying to stay on the ship so that I don't make trouble. And Hoshi calls him out on that and says you have to confront bigotry. But that's the extent of that.
There's something else. I can't remember what it was. Now I forgot what it was. I was hoping I'd remind myself as I spoke, and that just didn't happen. But I don't know. I have to go back and rewatch those seasons because my take on it was, and it's been a hot minute since I watched them, but my take on it was like, you can definitely see, because I remember there being this conversation with Brandon Braga talking about like the torture that Archer does. And it was one of those like, oh, it's bad, but we're not really going to confront the fact that like there's that it turns out to be useful, which plays into the rhetoric. It like plays into the rhetoric like torture is good, and it's like a means to an end for a larger thing, and there's no real repercussions or having to handle dealing with that. And so it's saying like, yes, you did a bad thing, but it ultimately leads to an outcome that is beneficial. And it's a very similar thing in 24 where you have Jack Bauer being like, I'm going to torture these people, and it's clearly shown as like bad, but it's ultimately going to save, the president or whatever, the system that we're going to be doing. And I think that kind of goes throughout the entirety of Enterprise, the entire show, where it's just this very like, yes, like this liberal ideal of like, yes, we're growing and we're doing better, but it's not really willing to confront like the implicit assumptions of a lot of these systems, a lot of these things that it's going through that that require that change. I have to go back and rewatch it to give you a detailed analysis, but I think that's my initial sort of take on it.
When you do that, I'll join you on your podcast.
I need to go back because I'm not being able to speak authoritatively on it.
I will absolutely grant that Enterprise, I think, is probably the least progressive to the point of being the most regressive of all of the Treks.
Yeah. There's a good essay
for a variety of reasons.
There's a good essay that I wonder if I have on hand.
Strange New Worlds is certainly giving it a run for its money.
It's definitely giving it its run for the money.
Sorry,
I would consistently across all 4 seasons. Strange New World season 3 took a nosedive.
I mean the thing with the difference. Oh God, we're so well off track. But the difference between the two, I would argue, is that Enterprise, while being reactionary, I would say neoconservative is probably my take on it. Like, not in when I say conservative, I don't mean like far right wing, like what conservative has become today. I mean like Bush era conservative, which is still bad.
Yeah.
We don't like, but that's sort of what I mean by that.
It was a step backwards from Voyager.
Exactly.
Like at the very least.
Yes. But it was like at least trying to say some things again, and I think a very regressive neoconservative way, but it was trying some things. Whereas Strange New Worlds is ending up being centrist by trying to just be fun space capitalist show. Like, we're just going to sell you a Star Trek product. We're not going to say anything. It's all nostalgia. We're just going to have some happy fun times here. And as a result, it seeps itself in some very, very, very regressive politics by trying to remain a product, by not trying to say anything. It probably says the most conservative of all of them.
It's doing what Reagan was famous for saying about during the AIDS epidemic.
Yes.
To look pretty and say nothing and do nothing. It's look pretty and say nothing, or say as little as possible.
Yes. And as a result, it says everything about our society today. So,
yeah.
Again, a reflection, if not a self-aware one.
Yes. And again, I mean, that's all of these things. I mean, art is generally almost always a reflection of the moment, whether it's self-aware or not, or what it ultimately is trying to push for, I think is the telling thing. Whereas like with Man of Steel, it's like, yes, I think that is actually a very good point of like, this is a very telling sense of like America's view of itself, with like Superman in that film is like, I am burdened with glorious purpose, and like there's this weight on, it's like this very Catholic, like I am burdened of doing the good thing and I need to, I hate doing it, but I am going to go and do it because I have this power and I have to like, I have to use it for the benefit of others. That's sort of very objectivist.
Heaven save us from white men's burdens.
Yes, exactly. It's like, it's that white man's burden sort of thing. And I think it's speaking very clearly to like the view of America of itself at that time, but it ultimately doesn't like, I think, critique that or tear that down or break that down in any real way. And it's as a result, like, and I think that's much better done in something like The Boys rather than in Superman. Like, I think The Boys kind of does a very similar job of what Man of Steel is like, could have said, but by just making it the actual text of the of the actual thing, that not deconstructing it ends up like reinforcing that ideal. Whereas like The Boys can do that thing and then deconstruct and say, hey, that's bad actually. So I think that's my thing. And that's similar to Enterprise, and trying to bring it back to Farscape. I think it ultimately does like Farscape. I think what I like about Farscape is what I like about Star Trek at its best, which is that it says, hey, these weirdos, these people that are on the outside of like the norms of society are actually the ones that most represent it and actually most make it up. And actually you get like, when it's like Star Trek, the original series, it's being like, hey, we have a place for all of these weirdos here. And we're all going to consider these weirdos to be part of the engine that drives all of society forward together. Or you get something like Deep Space Nine, which tends to deconstruct it and being like, hey, you have this neoliberal view of the world that's like the society is driven by the good captains at the helm, the white dudes at the helm. It's like, no, the weirdos over here are actually the ones that are harmed by the system, but they uphold its values in darker times probably more than most. Like that's Star Trek to me, is like that conversation about like what is, whether you're deconstructing or you're upholding it, it's this idea that the people who are marginalized by today's standards are the ones that are the drivers of society and actually help us like make us move forward as like all of us together. And I think Farscape kind of gets that very, very well, in that like John and all of this Moya crew have fundamentally changed society by being ones that came outside of it and influenced it and gave it something new and a new perspective and a new way to push itself. And I like that that's sort of where Farscape kind of weaves it in at the end of this episode. Like, all of humanity has gone forward because these weirdos did things and tried to push people to be better.
Because they try to get better themselves too.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that Farscape has done is they've taken an ordinary white man with all the privileges and made him marginalized.
Yeah.
And made him experience what it's like to be the minority who is persecuted. And then come back and see how bring that experience back. And that's the thing you can really only do with science fiction.
And it does it in such a good way, because there's in science fiction, there's always this tendency with that sort of thing to be like, oh, we're the put upon, like the Star Wars effect of like, oh, look, we see ourselves in the scrappy rebels, but it then allows like Americans to sometimes see themselves like, look, we're the rebels up against the system, when like, no, you're upholding your self-interest by pushing down these other people. So but science fiction has that danger. Whereas John,
like Trump loves Les Mis because everybody thinks they're Valjean, even if they're Javert.
Exactly. And I think like what I like about John is that like he acts like a guy with privilege at first and eventually gets there.
He gets busted.
Like, yes, exactly. He doesn't get to use that. So, and he learns that over the course of this. So,
sorry.
Well, and that's my thing too. Is like, that's bound to happen. That's my thing too. Also with, oh shoot, I was going to say it, and then you said hot flashes, and it flashed out of my head.
It's contagious.
That's what. That's what I was going to say. Is not that. They don't just help other societies get better in a paternalistic, imperialistic kind of a way. The way Star Trek can also drift into. They help societies get better because they get better themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They like it. And that's one of the reasons why this episode in particular is so satisfying, because we see the fruits of that. We see Pilot making an independent choice. He disagrees with Moya.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time in the show, he makes an independent choice. We see Rigel encouraging self-sacrifice. We see John choosing to walk away from home. We see Aeryn choosing her own happiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the ways in which, both within the universe and for all of us, the audience, we get the reflection of X can do better. We can do better. They can do better. America, the United States, Earth, whatever can do better, is by watching these weirdos get better.
Mm-hmm.
And by watching them take the time. We have taken so much airtime in this show with these people just dealing with their shit, and we get to see the fruits of it, and that to me is something very precious about this show.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it. That was great. I agree completely.
Yeah. No, I think that's excellent, and I think one of the other main themes of this episode, that is also very, very, very timely, is John's refusal. Even though he's tempted, he refuses to make a deal with fascists.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Dargo's very empathetic, very honest. They may not all be Greyza, and I believe they will honor the deal, and then they will enslave you. Yeah.
Like, they'll honor the deal as long as it suits their needs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
oh yes.
I mean, how I guess real politic and contemporary can we get? But like, nothing that is currently happening as we are recording this that looks like a good thing, that is being perpetuated, orchestrated, or touted by the current administration, should be accepted as a good thing. I wouldn't take the current administration's word that the sky is blue.
Well, I mean, it's the thing that like, it's the thing that, I think, what was it? Chris Pratt had that recent thing of like, well, they may be doing bad things, but I would like RFK is still helping some kids. Why do we have to hate on him just because he's a fascist? He didn't even say it in that way. It's just like, it was doing this like mealy mouth thing. But the sentiment was it was the sentiment was like RFK Jr. is doing a few good things, so we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater sort of element of, and it's like,
because the bathwater might give you autism.
Yeah, it's like the things he's doing aren't good. Even the things he cited were like not actually helping. Everything a fascist touches is generally like shitty and only going to help a specific group of people, if them. Usually the most powerful are those adjacent to privilege, or those are most likely to be able to get power. But yeah, it's like this sort of equivocating and being like, nothing that a fascist does is ultimately going to be beneficial in the long term, or quite often even the short term. So yeah,
they did not make the trains run on time.
Exactly.
The only useful thing I think a fascist has ever contributed is, well, Wagner's had some pretty good tunes. But yeah,
so
Bugs Bunny, but they're much better embodied by Bugs Bunny than by the Ring of the Nibelung. But no, like, yeah, that once there, nothing is ever always. So there may be something other than Wagner. But generally, fascists can't make art, and don't make the only good thing that comes out of them is from people resisting them. And you must resist them. You must always
yeah.
I
had a uncomfortable and unfortunate opportunity in my life to get a very up close and personal case study on domestic abuse. And someone should do a study. The overlap between behaviors of an abuser in a relationship and a fascist in power. The Venn diagram is a circle.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's the same tactic, just writ large, right, on a systemic level. It's the utilization. I mean, because, not always, but generally speaking, in a domestic violence situation, it is the person with the most power in the situation, like enacting harm on the other person, using that power, and then forcing that person to sort of stay in that situation through their power, manipulation, emotional manipulation, gaslighting, that sort of thing.
Shape scenarios.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with fascism. It's just using the systemic levers of power to do so to other people, and victim blaming and blaming other people for the things getting worse and things getting bad, and the harm that the fascists are causing. It's a very similar tactics. It's literally the same tactics.
But I think that's why, that's part of why Aeryn's journey is so beautiful and so important, is we have someone who was raised in fascism, who's, talked about her gender journey, just because they're so masculinized, all their whole culture. And it's all toxic misogyny, it's all fascism, and she was raised in that, indoctrinated from birth, and had all
I would argue that we have ample evidence that she was an active participant.
Yes, we know. Yeah, we know this.
She was a fascist.
That's why The Way We Weren't is still my favorite episode. Is because we go into the horrible things that she did. She killed a pilot. But, through this long and difficult journey, she has deprogrammed herself. She has learned. She has gone from the woman in the first episode who said, "Compassion, what is compassion? I hate this feeling," to now we see her genuinely emotionally literate.
Well,
she knows herself, she knows John, and she's choosing joy.
If fascism ultimately wants you to believe that you are the worst thing that you have ever done. And humanity, and again, there's lines, obviously, like there's levels to it, but being human means you are going to cause harm. You are going to hurt others. And the question is, how do we work through that? How do we grow from that? Yeah, how do we help heal each other as we come into conflict? And a society that enables you to try to be constructive with that, to grow from that, to enable you to say, like, I did harm, I will take responsibility for it, like earnest responsibility for it, and grow. I think is what we should be trying to build, and that's what she sort of represents. Whereas fascism, on the other hand, just says, you do, like, if you cause harm, like people tried to blame you for it, you should deny responsibility, deny culpability, and do not let it come into your head, because you are a good person inherently, unless you're one of the lesser beings. And it is all the people who are lesser than you's fault for that. And this constant like positioning yourself as like, you are perfect, you are amazing, forget anything that caused harm both in the past and in the present, whether it be on a systemic level, like with the history of slavery or whatever, or like on a personal level, just deny responsibility. But also at the same time, this weird thing of like, you are also the worst thing that you have ever been, so you should just give yourself to the system. The system is greater than you, it is bigger than you, it is a better ideal, and since you are small and a bad person compared to the system, you should just give yourself up to it.
What's that? And Christian religious trauma?
It's like all these. It's like almost as if all of these things are in a Venn diagram that is basically a circle. So
you are imperfect and messy, but you can be great if you serve your purpose in the system, in
the great wheel of the system that goes round and round, self-perpetuating itself and making
sacrifice all that is in you that doesn't fit
your slot in the machine.
That doesn't serve the machine. This is why I say that assimilation is self-harm, and contributing to fascism is self-harm. It's like you have to cut off parts of yourself, the best parts of yourself, and the messy parts of yourself that you may not like, but are places for growth. To be part of that. And the thing is, we talk about punching Nazis, and we should. I mean, I admit when the Nazi punching discourse started, I was on the wrong side of it. I thought, no, we can't be using violence. But I've since learned, no, they are being violent in their words. They are inspiring violence. There's a proportionality. But the thing is, while we say you should always punch Nazis, you can always choose not to be a Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
And if you and we won't punch you if you decide not to be a Nazi. You can't expect everybody. You can't expect the people who you have hurt to help you, but there are people who will help you.
The trouble, they're very tangled, and it's such a trite phrase, but the tangled web of fascism is that the participants themselves are weaponized victims.
Oh yes,
I've heard it said that the first victims of the patriarchy are cis men, because they are the ones who must be indoctrinated. We are the ones who must be indoctrinated and programmed to perpetuate and propagate the whole thing. And the same was true for Aeryn all throughout the show. And we saw very stark, no pun intended, reminders that it is possible to make different choices and to make amends, but it requires an active choice. So we saw that when we met Aeryn's mother.
This discussion is brought to you by Bell Hooks.
Yes. Well, it's the same. It's the reason why. It's the reason why, just to make another comparison, why Aeryn's arc towards growing from being a fascist is earnest, because she's acknowledging harm and growing and making an active choice to do so, to try to grow and to reconcile with that. Whereas compare that to someone like in Star Wars Andor, you have why am I blanking on his name now? Cyril Karn in that show, who people like, there were so many people in that show. I won't spoil necessarily where that exactly ends for people who have not seen the Andor, but this is a character who was working as a fascist for the entire show. And at the very end of the show, he seemingly has a change of heart in that he chooses to not necessarily directly help the fascist involved. But his anger at that moment is expressed through reasserting domination over a woman, domination over someone that he attacked, that he was told to attack as a fascist. And so, he was having like a reconciliation with like, oh, the fascist system used me, but it wasn't an active choice to try to grow. It was an active anger at having been used. And he reasserts that sense of self-control and venting his anger out on the same targets that fascism wants him to target anyways, women and minorities. And so like, but there were so many people when that show came out, that episode, there were people arguing like, oh, well, see, he's grown. He's actually a hero. He was on an arc to be a better person. What a tragedy what ends up happening to in that show. And I'm like, no, he did not make an active choice to be better. He might have gone on that journey, but he didn't. And the tragedy is he never made that choice. But he did not make that choice, and he was not a hero in the end. So
I remember having that discussion. It was just before I left Twitter. I think I commented that about how the guy's instinct was to become a domestic abuser, and someone commented back, but wasn't he being abused? But then it's like, so
yes, that doesn't make it an eye for an eye.
Yeah.
The difference between a hero and a villain. When something bad happens to the villain, the villain says, I will do everything in my power to make sure this never happens to me again. When something bad happens to the hero, the hero says, I will do everything in my power to make sure this never happens to anyone else.
Yeah, it's very, very true.
Which is where I think it brings in Scorpius.
Yeah. And I mean, I actually was thinking about Crace too when you were talking about people who did not make an active choice to leave, the fascist systems. But like Scorpius works very well. Like he was a victim, unquestionably. He was abused, unquestionably. He was mutilated. And his response was to gather as much power as he possibly could to make sure that never happened to him again, at the expense of everyone
else. Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's the difference between that character in Andor too. Like, Sara and I think you and I talked about this a few episodes ago. Hurt people is not the end of the thought.
No.
Hurt people is the beginning of an opportunity to do better. Because we first have to acknowledge that we're hurt and that we are hurting others.
Yeah, if you don't deal with your shit, you'll get it on everybody else.
And no wound anyone else inflicted on you gives you any right to bleed on anyone else.
Or to inflict wounds on anyone else. Yeah. And that's why Farscape is a great show.
And yes,
that was a good full circle.
Yes, and Crace is a good example as well, because although he left, the only thing he could do was take a strike. He had such a difficult sort of deprogramming thing, and it everything he did to try and get away from it without actually dealing with his stuff just ended up hurting Talon.
Yep.
And until we get to the point where I don't like the whole like something being some character or some being beyond help, but in this case it was because Craze just couldn't seem to make a different choice, and when he finally did, it was because of the damage that he was doing to Talon, and he did find a way out, but he only managed to find a way out in death. He couldn't seek love and comfort and learning the way that Aeryn could. He tried.
Nobody is beyond.
He tried with Aeryn.
Well, sort of. Nobody is beyond redemption until they're dead. But anybody, even Scorpius, has an opportunity to make different choices, new choices, and he's not. And that can be, a tragedy in a very Grecian sense of, his own fatal flaw brings him down kind of a thing. But it isn't necessarily the like, oh, what a tragedy for this poor character kind of a thing that a lot of folks continue to equate with that word today.
Well, since we're talking about Scorpius, maybe we should talk about Harvey. I don't really know what to make of the buddy scene, but I love it.
I mean, I'm glad that we brought Harvey back just to fuck around a little bit. That was great.
Should we talk about the scene in the boat?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about the ending, like the ending choice of the episode, but I will say the scene, I do really like the bit where the crew on Moya are describing what's happening. Like, oh, he looks very angry. He got down on one knee. I think he hurt himself,
I think it's actually a good use of bathos, which is it's so overused nowadays. But yes. Just like it
Marvel.
would be too sweet. I think if it was just these two in love people with the doing their thing after all the heartbreak they've given us.
Well, I think like with bathos, it's like I think the problem with like what Marvel does is that the bathos is always used to like undercut, like to like do away. It's like it removes the sincerity of the moment at every single time. It's like, here's a really sincere thing. Oh, now we're gonna do a little jokey joke to like undercut it to make it less serious. Like this, someone just did like a superhero jump. And it's like, oh look, that's cool. Like it's always about undercutting the earnest thing that happens. Whereas here, it's not undercutting the earnestness. It actually is in support of the earnestness because it brings it back to Tiana at the end, where she is like, oh no, he's proposing, and then they all get the sense of like,
you dumbasses, didn't y'all watch TV?
Yeah, it's about building up to like the earnest moment, and so it's funny, but then it reinforces the earnestness of the moment as opposed to undercutting it, which is why I think a lot of it is overused just and that's just generally a problem. But it's generally used as a way to like completely like do away with the earnestness of it. So
yeah, as opposed to having your kind of arrogant shit of a character. They call the guy getting married an idiot, because we're not going to pay attention to we don't care about Rigel's opinion, and it is just kind of funny. It doesn't take away from it; it just kind of gives us a little laugh in the moment.
Yes, exactly.
And of course, and also there is like a little bit of a contrasty moment there because we know what kind of husband he was. and it sure as shit is not the kind of husband that John's going to be.
Right. Yeah, the bathos in Marvel always feels like some studio executive chastising the writers for whoa, this is too dark. Lighten up.
To tell a funny story, I don't do. Can I talk about drugs out here? Is that might as well.
We do.
We do. I do not handle weed very well. My fiance, she smokes a lot more than I do, but I don't really handle weed very well. Not in like a bad way. It's just like if I take too much of it, I'm like, I'm out. So for my birthday, I went and saw a screening of The Two Towers last year. In theaters, and I got very, very high for it just to enjoy it. And I had to like step out of the theater a few times because I was so high. And I'm like, I forgot how earnest this movie is. Like every moment is like the most earnest fucking thing in this film. And I'm like, I'm used to like, I've been bathing in Marvel movies for like a decade now. Like I can't like everything, like at least in Marvel, they're like, they undercut it. Like, it's like, this not earnest all the time. And it's just like, everything is like everything. Like, it was like when Shadowfax shows up in the movie, and I had to step back because I'm like, just this horse showing up is like, it's the king of the horses, and it's the most beautiful horse ever. It's like, guys, tone it down just a second, please. I need a breath. I love those movies.
Back to the gay dwarfs.
Yes, exactly.
The dwarf and the two, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like, and I love those movies. I was just too high for someone who's like not had to deal with that level of earnestness in a while.
You were too high. You were too high for Howard Shore.
Yeah.
Soundtrack.
Yeah.
As soon as Concerning Hobbit starts up for the 850th time.
Yeah.
Then it's like, damn it, I'm gonna cry again.
Yeah. It was so good. It was great, but I was just like, I'd like my fiance to come out and like check it out. It's like I just couldn't take the horse. It was too much.
Couldn't take the horse. Yes, he said.
Legitimate. Yeah. Yes, I could not take the horse.
I think the thing when bathos is done well, it has to, you take the sincerity, take the earnestness seriously as well. Like,
yes,
it was something that Joss Whedon could actually do, or usually more like
could when he was collaborating with bright people. Like in Buffy, there are some moments.
Yes.
And it's because there are moments of genuine earnestness.
Yes.
And the jokes don't take away from that mostly.
Yeah.
There are times when it does, but
I think the worst example of this is like we've been using Marvel as the example. The one that really got me was Strange New Worlds this year with they had the existential horror episode where you had what's her face, the chief engineer. I'm blanking on her name now.
Karen Kane.
Terrible then. Yeah, Carol Kane.
Pelia.
Pelia, and she has this big speech of like there is true evil out in the world. It's like this big like there is true eldritch horror out in the world. Like it's supposed to be this dark moment, and then she goes, "Did you get one for the? Do you want me to do it again for the camera?" And I'm like, it was such a.
Did you forget what franchise you're in?
Yeah, it was such a wild tonal shift that like I had people in the comments arguing with me, being like, "Oh, she was actually lying. Like she doesn't believe any of that. She was just playing it up for the camera." Like they thought the intent of the scene was that she was actually not saying there's true evil in the world. She was just playing it up. I'm like, no, that was the intent. They just undercut it in the most ham-fisted way possible, and like it made it like the scene read like it was doing the exact opposite of what it was trying to do. It undercut it so hard it like swung it around. That's like the worst example of that. So
I think then I've been thinking a lot about the episode 200 from Stargate. From SG.
Such a great one.
which does humor and bathos and parody and all of it, that does it really well, and it takes a moment, like the most self-referential moment in the world, and it has Ben Browder say to the camera that never disrespect your audience.
God, I need to rewatch Stargate. It's been so long.
I've been thinking the same thing actually.
A few things recently have made me think about that episode of SG1. It is just so poignant. Yeah, like this is one way to do it right. You have one scene that is absolutely completely earnest, and then you kind of have the peanut gallery. They're not undercutting the truth of the scene.
No, yeah.
They're just doing a bit of a loving jab because they are family. This is a found family. And part of that is you get a little bit of the piss taken out of you.
A little bit.
But yeah, I just it's almost too earnest to talk about, but I love the whole and the coin toss, and that coin goes into water, and she's not looking at the thing, and
it's very good.
I was watching it in bed so that I could actually do the kicking my heels, and I am a sucker for love stories. I know a lot of other people don't love them, but
Vera.
Vera and I we talked about we should do a discussion of but I love a good love story because love is one of those things that can really challenge and change characters for the good or for the worse. I mean, not when they're done badly, not stupid Battlestar Galactica jealousy bullshit or A Strange New World doing Star Trek 90210. I don't know, Star Trek Degrassi. But
Star Trek Love Boat.
Yeah. But when you actually take the time to write characters seeing each, genuinely seeing one another, genuinely changing through the relationship to one another, growing and changing and communicating, or sometimes when you see it go wrong. And I mean, I also adored the recent scene in Peacekeeper with the breakup was just so beautiful.
You mean Peacemaker?
Peacemaker, yes.
Yeah.
Peacekeeper.
Slightly.
I mean, honestly, that works just as well.
But yeah, when however people are changed by love, the character stuff of the love prompting people to change, prompting people to be better or worse, or learn and grow, or what have you. I love that stuff. And this is, and I love Aeryn and John. They're the best opposite sex characters, romantic characters. They're not straight, they're just opposite sex.
The straights can be okay every once in a while, Yeah,
there's nothing straight about Aeryn and John.
Yeah, that's true.
They're just different genders.
Yes. But yeah, no, I adore them. I think it is like it's the thing I've talked about with Vera a bunch on our own podcast. Where it's like I don't think that Vera even hates romances. She just hates like the overt like courting and like this like when it's trying too hard to make it happen, and it usually relies on very tropey things and usually relies on very male gazy things like, oh, she was hot, she looked very pretty or whatever. But when you do a story like this in Farscape, where it is just people paying attention to each other and wanting to pay attention to each other and wanting to like earnestly uplift and help each other grow, that's what I've really come to like find in a lot of ways. What love is just an earnest desire to pay attention to someone, like and enjoying paying attention to somebody and having it be reciprocated, and doing what you can to like make them feel seen and heard and help them grow. I think that this show like nailed that with these two characters in a way that didn't feel like it was try hard or was just like trying to force them together. It was like, no, these are two people that just cared about each other, and as a result of caring came to like find love for each other because they realize they both like pay attention to each other and care about each other and see each other. And so I think that that's what this show, and any show that like does a good love story, gets is that, I think. So
the mutuality of it, the symmetry of it.
Yeah, I think another one, like I've never saw, this is going to blow some people's minds. I've never seen the X-Files. And I'm currently, I know, right? I'm watching it for the first time right now.
Oh, good.
And I'm in season 2, and it's like that I actually really love as a love story so far between the two of them, between Mulder and Scully, because it's like, again, there's like these two see each other and understand each other really, really well, and like get each other's quirks and appreciate them in a really, really wonderful way.
I think what you're touching on, or what I'm hearing you say specifically, is the best love stories are when it's about them, when it's their love story, not his, not hers, when it's two complete characters.
Yes, when it's actually reciprocal and not male gazy, like she is object of my desire that I wish to pursue.
Yeah, that's when it's
subject to subject.
And John and Aeryn are both very real and very complete characters.
As are Mulder and Scully.
Yeah, I think the example is Kirk and Spock. Even though that one is a Schrodinger's type of thing, is you can read the type of love any way that you choose romantic to.
And platonic, but it is love, regardless of how you want to read it.
It is one of the best cultural examples we have. I would put it up there with Darcy and Elizabeth, of people who see each other, know each other. You know yourself through the other person seeing you, and they make each other better.
Yeah, no, I love Kirk and Spock for that exact reason, because like they are what I love about them is they are a love story that can be read in both, and I think there's a power in this. Like it can be romantic, can be platonic, and you can collapse it any way you want to, and the only reason that matters to anybody really is because of our present day view on things. Like there are people who react very violently on seeing them as a gay couple. Like you can't, like even writers on the show, David Gerald is very expressly like they are not a gay couple, despite him being a gay writer himself. And he's a very interesting thing going on there. That vitriolic reaction to that only comes from our current perspective. Whereas within the world of Star Trek, it does not matter. It does, like it could be romantic, could be not, but it doesn't really matter. It just is, and there's no cultural pressure on it to be one thing or the other within the world of Star Trek. And that like quantum possibility of what it could be is I think like a kind of distillation of that power of Star Trek as like a better future for humanity, of like what we could be is a culture that enables this, where there is no pressure on these things to be something. It just is. And I think that that's a really kind of beautiful thing that that piece of fiction enables with that. So anyways, that's my treatise on Kirk's Spock, and I was trying to find a way to bring it back to Farscape, but I don't have one. So.
Well, I think this is one of the reasons why this feels so special, Aeryn and John, is because so rarely do you get a subject to subject love story in science fiction or in fiction where one of the subjects is a woman. So there's like the reason like none of Kirk's love interests could be that is because the women didn't really get written as subjects.
No.
Edith Keeler, kinda.
I was about to say she was the closest, but also she was a walking plot device.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think there's a reason why she is the one most loved. And Jillian, kinda.
Well, the movie, I think the movie love interests are distinct from the show love interests. I was also going to mention Carol Marcus.
Which then they went backwards on when they did. The
Wrath of Khan, Carol Marcus specifically, actually felt like Kirk's equal.
Yes, Into Darkness, like, Carol Marcus, most definitely not. But.
No,
most definitely not.
Oh God, why do we go forward and backward and forward and backward? Because humans are humany.
Silly.
Very silly. Memory is a tricky thing. And when you try to write memories, you just wind up writing the wrong stuff.
Yeah, but so often, I think that's one of the reasons why women love why so many women get into male fan fiction is because very rarely do you get you don't often get, more often now, but like that kind of equal subject to subject where with a male object of affection.
I mean, this is something that Joanna Russ wrote about, if you've ever read her. She's Joanna Russ, she's a very famous, like, she's a Hugo winning writer. She wrote the book The Female Man, which is basically cyberpunk before cyberpunk. If you ever read it, it's very good. But she did write a whole really well done think piece on exactly that reason of like, if you look at a lot of science fiction, a lot of fan fiction that is like male romances written by women, it's generally not. It is not actually what male romance would actually be. Like the surprising lack of lube, for example, is like a telltale sign. Like, and this is something she like literally cites, and it's like it is more of this reflection of a kind of utopian ideal, in the sense that like there's not a power dynamic in play here that or at least is not as overtly that like comes into play with the men and women dynamic. It's like these two people are allowed to just kind of be in a relationship without there being this presumption of like one has power over the other, this like sort of thing. So that's basically kind of her argument on it. There's been some critique of that work over the years in her universalizing that idea, but I do think that there's a kernel of truth in that.
Any idea proposed will always have some
exceptions,
and usually, nothing is ever always.
Yes,
but it's just John and Aeryn are exceptional, and I love them. I think some of the other there aren't a lot of we have a lot of strong women written at the time, but not a lot of them had strong partners. Buffy, for example, had a bunch of, I mean, Spike is a lot of fun, and there was a match there in a sense, but only by him being kind of the worst in an entertaining way. Just trying to think of like who actually of the strong women of the 90s or even the 2010s had partners that matched them. They struggled to give Michael Burnham a partner that matched her. I think they got one in book,
Book definitely gets there, I think, really, really well. I like Book quite a lot.
I think Dax and Worf do actually match quite well.
Yes, everyone hates Worf and Dax. I love Worf and Dax.
Who hates Worf and Dax? I love Worf and Dax.
So many people. I post whenever I posted on like back when it was Twitter or like Blue Sky a bit, like I love Worf and Dax. I get so many people saying they hate them. And I'm like, you. I think it's that memory thing. I think it's the memory thing of like they think of Worf as like this kind of guy who has not worked through his shit. And I'm like, yes, Worf has a lot of things going on that he needs to deconstruct. And Dax helps him with that really well. And she challenges on them really well and actually makes him better and vice versa. So I actually think they have a really great relationship.
Yeah, but, Worf and Troy were a disaster. But Dax,
God, no. She was just in there for his two Klingon penises. We were all aware. Yeah.
I love that they called Marina Sirtis feels shit on the set. Aren't you the one that feels shit?
But I'm just running out of words, but I just, talked about how much I just love Aeryn and John.
You're gay for Aeryn and John.
I'm bi for
bifurcating.
I'm bi for the bis. And I do headcanon them both as that. And do we get some confirmation, do you think, with John saying you or him? Because there was definitely a lot of shipping with Dargo as well. But they do make a lovely bromance, those two. So does anybody have anything else?
I am very excited about the Peacekeeper Wars. But I also feel like if this is all we got, I'd be okay. I would survive.
Mm-hmm. I like this ending. I think it's really. I agree with you. I've seen the Peacekeeper Wars. I have my own thoughts on them, but I do think it ends really well. But if this had been the ending as well, I would have felt really, really good about it. I would have understood some people's anger, but like I generally find there's a lot of shows that I've dealt with a lot of shows that I liked being canceled, and I usually find some solace when they have like, okay, the arcs are completed. Like there might be a plot thing that's going on, but I feel complete with the character arcs, and this does that really well, really well.
Yeah.
So
I would still love more in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sure. That's a marker of how great the story has been and how great these characters are.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Do you have any predictions for what you think might happen in the Peacekeeper Wars?
There's going to be a war involving the Peacekeepers.
What?
No.
Why would you think that?
No, it's going to take place on Earth.
Hard-hitting criticism that you tune into this podcast for.
It's ridiculous. Who spoiled him?
No, I don't know what's going to happen. So first of all, both of our main characters that we just spent a long time waxing rhapsodic about are at the very least dissolved. I'm hesitant to say dead because I've said dead for many other people before, and they weren't.
They've been dead
disintegrated.
Also, quick mention. I like I love the alien that kills them with the face open.
Oh, yeah,
that was a really cool design.
Finally, we got a puppet.
Yeah,
finally.
It was a great design. Anyways, I just wanted to mention that was a great.
It is an absolute stunning design. I think nowadays with the quality of monitors and TVs, I think it's fairly. I don't think you get quite as fooled as you did the first time I watched that. I was absolutely fooled, and I thought that was a person.
Mm-hmm.
But I think TVs are better now, and it's a little more clear.
Obvious, yeah.
That it's a puppet.
You can tell through contrast too that it moves more like a puppet than.
But I mean,
like
quick and easy. It's not as noticeable. So
down and dirty. Yeah.
This is the disadvantage of everything digital is things are sometimes benefit from being a little bit fuzzy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we may or may not see more of the third eye people.
I mean,
more people with odd numbers of eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell's going to happen in the Peacekeeper Wars, but I'm excited about it.
Jesse, you know what's going to happen, but do you have any false predictions? Silly predictions?
Silly predictions. I imagine they're going to be reconstituted, but with different parts of each other, because they're all like little speckles, right? At this point, so like I think like he'll get her like pinky, and he'll get like John will get her breasts, that sort of thing. It'll be like one of those like body swap sort of situations.
I did enjoy having them in the last body swap.
Yeah. It's like you just they have to like build them up like a Lego with those little pieces, and they're like, fuck, I don't like, because it's Dargo. He doesn't know what humans are in, like, they look like. So it's just like, I think this piece goes over here, and then just builds them all incorrectly. I think that's exactly how it's going to go.
I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, we will be watching live with anyone who can come and join us on the 1st of November.
Come on in. The water's fine.
Yep. And then we will have a discussion. And we may or may not have a very special guest if things work out. So that being said, what is your favorite part of this episode, Jessie?
Oh, I think very easily it's this conversation with the dad. I think that's probably the highlight of this episode. Probably followed very closely by John and Aeryn's proposal. So
took the words right out of my mouth, Jessie. It was going to be those two for me too.
Mm-hmm.
Sara?
It's yes, of course it's a vote. And I love his standing there. I love, oh God, there are so many moments that I love, but I think this changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this don't change anything, will it? This changes everything. We're having a baby. I love that, because there's so often in like romantic stuff, they're like, you'll never change. This won't change. Nothing will ever change. And it's like, well, actually, no, it is actually. You're building a human. That's going to change some things,
Mm-hmm.
Life is going to happen in various ways, and things are going to change. That doesn't have to be a bad thing. That can be a good thing. Change can be beautiful. And they've reached the point where, wherever they're going together.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that lovely, it's actually a Bible quote, I think, that I just watched it in the Outlander thingy recently, and it's just I can't remember it exactly, but maybe editing Sara will insert it here. Just really pretty.
It's Ruth 1:16. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God, my God.
I think that's also a song.
If I could turn.
I think it's probably about 1 million songs. But yeah,
I go wherever you will go. Anyway, sorry. Apologies.
Yeah. I am a big, goofy, softy love story person, and I love the love stories and the thing. And yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. So, Jessie.
Yesy.
It's been a long road.
There.
Stop it. You're going to get me and Jessie going again? We got to go.
Best theme song ever. Just saying.
I was actually coming to thank you very much for joining us in this festival of digressions that we call a podcast.
I'm always here for the festival of digressions.
Would you like to tell the folks where they can find you and what you're up to?
Yes, you can find me at Jessie Gender on YouTube, where I do video essay style of stuff. I just released a video on why Star Trek. If you like my discussions on Star Trek and Strange New Worlds specifically, I have a video about Strange New Worlds that just came out today as of this recording. But I have a few other Star Trek videos coming up, as well as some other videos, so check out that channel for all of that stuff. I also have a secondary channel called Jessie Gender After Dark, where I do news, reviews, reactions. Not sure what I'm reviewing as of yet, but I'll have some other videos that pop up there from time to time. I also have my own podcast, I should mention. That's called Frack This Podcast. Right now, we are my friend Vera Wild and I, who has been on this podcast, are rewatching Battlestar Galactica, and finding it has not aged as well as my memory would have it. But there's still some good there. But it is definitely like, this is definitely a Bush era show in interesting ways. So check that out. We also did Farscape, The Prisoner, and Babylon 5 as well on that. So there's a backlog of all of those shows for you. I'm also on Nebula, which is a streaming service that houses my movie identities. I am also on Blue Sky and Instagram as Jessie Gender. And I have a Patreon that helps me pay the bills if you want to go and support me there.
I have been listening along to your Battlestar one, and I am discovering just how much I let slide because I found Apollo cute.
Yeah. We do. I think I call you out in our upcoming, we recorded a little bit in advance. In our next episode, I call you out as well because we talk about fat suits and Lee's fat suit.
Oh, God.
At the end of season 3 or beginning of season 2 into season 3. So.
Joy. Yeah.
So we shout out your video that you made on fat suits several years ago at this point, but it was a very good, it still holds up. It's a very good video. So.
If only it didn't.
I know, right? Unfortunately.
Anyway, Josh, honey, where can folks find you?
Well, if you look out over the ocean, you'll see bits and pieces of me scattered throughout, but also on Instagram at Josh Gosdin. Come on over, follow me there. Sara, tell everybody about where they can find you.
Well, if I haven't been disintegrated into several bits of jujubes or jujubes, I think is what it looks like to me. I'm Sara Ezzat. I make the Fat Culture Critic videos on YouTube. I am working on videos, but also like perimenopause has eaten my brain. And so things are coming out slower than I would like, but I'm trying to work on things, and I am planning my annual the live readings for charity this year. So on the 13th of December, we will be doing A Christmas Carol. Both of these folks are featured. I believe it is you're playing Mrs. Cratchit to Vera's Bob, which should be fun and
very fun.
And Josh's
Fezziwig this year.
I'm assuming there'll be much very heavy flirting.
I expect nothing less. Flirting over your dead child, no less.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a friend of the parent of the podcast, Aeryn, is going to be our Scrooge this year, which should be interesting.
Aeryn will be great for that.
Yeah. It's always a good crowd. It's always a good laugh. And we will be raising money for Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. And then on January 6th, which is 12th night, we will be reading 12th Night. I haven't found a role for you yet in 12th Night.
I might be traveling on January 6th.
Yeah. A lot. Some people are only making it to one, which makes perfect sense. I will be playing Festa the Fool.
I remember who you made me in 12th Night.
You're Antonio, because Ren is going to be Sebastian, and you two work good as mates. So yes, so that will be raising money for Trans Lifeline. So two of the biggest issues these days that need funds and support, and so we will be.
Sadly so.
We will be doing our best to raise some spirits and some funds, and you can come along and join us for either or both of those.
Sweet.
And hopefully I'll get a video out in the meantime at some point. Too many ideas. Brain too stupid.
Brain
work.
full things.
At least it's less hot now, although my body doesn't agree because stupid hot flashes. But anyway.
That's because you're hot. I told you, heavy flirting. We're good. Yeah. I flirt with all my friends.
That's all right then. Okay, well, again, thank you, Jessie, for joining us. Thank you to all of you wonderful folks for listening to us for the last few years. We will have one more episode of this, and then we got some other ideas we'll be letting you know about. And yeah, join us on the 1st for Peacekeeper Wars.
Huzzah.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
I had a thought, but I lost it. No, I'm sorry.
Hot flash.
Yes, hot flash.
So where were we? We just talked about Harvey.
Where weren't we?
we were
been
deep
all over
into
the
talking
place.
about fascism. We've gotten very, very philosophical and deep here.
I mean, there is. I think you'd have to go through the record and see if there's any episodes in which we don't talk about fascism.
I mean, it's a show about that.
It's a show about fascism.
Yes.
Like the very first episode, the peacekeepers are introduced with a red and green backdrop, a red and black backdrop, red and black.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very subtle, very subtle.
Yeah.
No, I know writers who use subtext, and they're all cowards.